Hi, and just a quick response to your vid there. Yeah, I just find it really frustrating, your position, and I guess it kind of comes from like a realpolitik position. I don't think you can't take issue with that description of your position. Um, but yeah, you say things like, we have to be realistic about power and how to change it. You say, we don't live in the kind of world that we'd like to see. That's just kind of how it is. You don't think that using the rule of law is the best way to go about preventing future torture. Um, that is the main goal here, and that's what he agreed with. He says what we're all working towards is how to prevent torture happening. You don't seem to think that applying international law is the way to go about that. It's precedent that we've helped to put down ourselves, and the US has as well. Precedent that we've used to indict other countries for similar acts. Yeah, the main point is that we all agree on is how do you prevent torture happening. You don't think that that using the rule of law is the best way to go about that. Law is supposed to be a deterrent. If you don't use it, it's not going to be an effective deterrent. If these politicians, leaders, superpowers continue to get away with it with no repercussions, so those at the top of the tree, nothing's going to change. You kind of said that yourself when we noticed that Obama said he was going to get rid of Guantanamo Bay. It's still here. We had Frago 242, an official order passed down from Parliament to carry out to allow the forces that we put in place in Iraq carry out torture. There's extraordinary rendition. It's rife, and we're responsible for a lot of it. And we turn a blind eye to a lot of our puppet states doing it also. So diplomatic efforts to oppose it are going to fail. You said yourself it's an ingrained problem. It's a systematic problem. You said yourself, and while there are no repercussions for those that are directly involved with implementing that torture, there's not going to be any change. Now, obviously, Switzerland were well within their rights, and this wasn't just some crazy leftist attempt to take a shot at America. This was a highly organised, highly supported attempt to hold Bush accountable. Over 60 human rights organisations and prominent individuals had their name on that letter and agreed and backed this effort to take him to trial. Or even an investigation. I mean, you said yourself that the repercussions that you speculated on, which to me actually didn't seem that, terrible. But the repercussions that you speculated on, you said would maybe come about as a result of an investigation. You said, let's leave aside any possible actual convictions. That these terrible repercussions would occur simply from an investigation into Bush and his role in torture, a role that he's already obviously admitted and stated that he would do again. And that's the problem, accountability. If you want power to change, accountability, okay? There is none here. Diplomatic solutions, conversations about it have failed time and again. Torture's been illegal for a long time, okay? Where has diplomacy got us in moving away from using it? I mean, I'd like you to address, Landon, Obama's influence in dropping the attempted indictment of the Bush Six. People have argued, well, you can't just go after Bush, that's not fair. How far would you spread the net? I've argued several times that we have a clear example of an attempt to directly address the people responsible for creating the legal framework to allow torture to occur. That was the Bush Six, an indictment that a Spanish court attempted to hold. And it wasn't just the fact that they dropped it, but Obama actually put pressure on them to drop it. So, this isn't just about doing what's best for America and, not upsetting the apple cart. Because I'm sorry, that is what your argument comes down to. But it's not just about not upsetting the apple cart. It's also a question of pressure on other sovereign states to not hold the US accountable. It's a pattern we've seen in Spain, in Germany, probably in Switzerland now also, and who knows where else. So you ask yourself, Landon, what would happen if George Bush travelled to another country and was arrested on charges of torture? Yes, what would happen indeed? No, but seriously, your worries of repercussions, and this is your reason for opposing an attempted investigation into Bush's role in torture, which he's already admitted to, and said he'd do again. But yeah, your opposition is based on the potential repercussions. And it came down to these things. First of all, yeah, that Fox and the Republicans would moan about it and say that it's wrong, but it's not. It wouldn't be wrong at all. It would be completely morally and legally correct, as you stated yourself. So fuck them if they want to moan about it, frankly. What does that matter? Since when do we have to give a shit what Fox News and far-right Republicans have to moan about? Yeah. These are the same people that call for the illegal murdering of a journalist trying to spread information about this kind of illegal activity by politicians. But moving on. You said that there might be a reduction in respect for international law. What, for following it? So for following international law, America might have a reduction in respect for it. Again, fuck them. Not Americans, not America, the politicians. Okay, let's get that distinction there. You said that another repercussion potentially might be that USA might renounce treaties, step out of treaties with other countries, basically throw its dummy out the pram on an international scale. So what, economic treaties, military treaties? You said that, yeah, they might recede their funding to things like the UN and NATO, that kind of thing. The US is not going to take any money out of NATO. It runs NATO, basically. NATO exists for US's benefit. It's not going to take anything out of that, so don't worry about that, unfortunately. So this is what you think. You think a realistic repercussion of an ex-president, one of the most hated and reviled heads of state in living memory, already known to be a criminal in terms of torturing, a president who shouldn't even have been in office at the time of him being responsible for this torture carried out. He stole the election, that's a whole different video. But, yeah, so this guy, hated by most people, and completely now irrelevant on the world political stage. You'd think that there would be such a massive backlash to that, to him being held accountable, that the US would collectively throw its dummy out the pram and recede out of treaties around the world and cause economic problems and basically just say, no, don't like you no more, no. That's crazy, Landon. Seriously. It is outlandish, Landon. What precedent can we look at to see what might happen if a president or ex-president is indicted for serious criminal activities? Well, the obvious one to look at is Watergate, of course. The investigations into Watergate that led to the resignation of Nixon are basically a case study in the operation of the American Constitution and political values. America came through, the legal system came through with flying colours at Watergate. And it did have profound consequences in the United States. What were those consequences? Well, there was a long list of convictions. Plenty of other people we can directly link in with allowing for the framework, legal framework, of torture to occur, handing out the orders, signing it off. It's going to be clear who we can indict with the decisions to allow that to occur. But yeah, with Watergate, there was a long list of convictions. For example, after Watergate, what did we see? What terrible repercussions did we see from Watergate? Well, it ushered in changes in campaign finance reform. There was a more aggressive attitude by the media, and America got a lot of respect back, and dealt with some ingrained corruption. America's lost a lot of respect for the wars in the Middle East and for a lot of things that Bush did, and for torture. This doesn't need to be a witch hunt. We know exactly what he's guilty of, and we know exactly what we could try him with. And this idea that the repercussions would just be too great on a global scale is crazy, Landon. And where do you draw the line as well? I mean, is it just America that gets this pass? Is it all countries? I mean, you said yourself, yeah, the repercussions might be that around the world, international law might start to be applied to other leaders, being responsible for signing off on torture. Brilliant, great. What's the problem with that? Seriously, what is the problem with that?